Welcome back to VPR. Andrea Cabral and Shirley Leung here for Jim and Marjorie. We are live at the Boston Public Library. We're also streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. Welcome to another round of Live Music Friday. I have to say, I love Live Music Friday. Today's is courtesy of the fabulous Grammy-nominated violinist Christina Day Martinson. She's here ahead of a show on June 17th at GBH's Fraser Performance Studio. It's open to the public. You can find tickets by going to gbh.org/events. The June 17th show is also going to be filmed as part of an upcoming documentary about Day Martinson, directed by award-winning filmmaker Nathaniel Hansen, who is also with us. The project is called A Second Movement, and it follows her life story from her beginnings in Saskatchewan, Canada, through career highs, her motherhood journey, and all the way up to today. I have to tell you, I've been fortunate enough to see an 11-minute clip of this movie. I am completely hooked and can't wait to see the entire thing. Martinson is the Associate Director and Concertmaster of Boston Baroque and the Assistant Concertmaster of the Handel and Haydn Society. If I sing her praises much longer, we won't have time to hear her play. In a few minutes, we're going to talk to both Christina and Nathaniel, but first, here she is, performing Bach's Sarabande from Partita No. 2.
Wow. Christina, come over. Oh my God, that was amazing.
It was amazing.
So soulful.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, Christina and Nathaniel, thank you for being here with us today. I'm embarrassed to say this. I think of myself as fairly cultured and informed, but I've actually never heard of the Boston Baroque. I actually do know what a concertmaster is, lead violinist, right? And my son plays, his 14-year-old plays the violin, but I would love to take him to see more of you and Boston Baroque. So tell us more about what that is.
The orchestra?
Yeah, the orchestra, yeah.
So Boston Baroque and Handel and Haydn are orchestras that play on period instruments. So that's what I'm playing on, which is basically a violin set up in the 18th century style. And we're trying to kind of replicate the equipment that they used back then. That kind of gives us a window and glimpse into how they made music back then, which these violins are very different from modern violins. So.
Yeah, how is it different?
Well, I'll just a couple simple things. One is that we play on gut strings, so raw gut. So it's sheep gut, not steel strings, and therefore they're much more finicky. It's harder to play in tune. They squeak. They're very sensitive to the environment. But for us who love that, they also have a whole different layers of colors and expression that people like us
different.
love.
Well, there's
And
no
the bow.
squeak. My son squeaks a lot, but you don't squeak at all on these strings.
Yeah, and this is also a big difference is the bow. I could just quickly show it's shorter and it's convex instead of concave and much lighter and yeah.
And where do you guys play? I mean, because when I think of orchestras in town, like I think of the BSO, and they play at the Symphony Hall or the Boston Pops. I mean, where do you play in town?
So Boston Baroque mostly plays in Jordan Hall. We've been in GBH also, but that will be ending moving forward. And then Handel Haydn plays in Symphony Hall and Jordan Hall also.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
You are both at the pinnacle of, not that you can't go further, but you're both at sort of the pinnacles of your respective careers. Nathaniel, especially your body of documentary work, the festivals you've presented at, I love Tribeca, by the way. I'm not one of those people who says that everything happens for a reason, but in terms of this documentary, it feels like that. And even in that 9-minute clip, so how did you come together? And then when you realized it was developing into something more than just filmmaker and subject, and I'll start with you, Nathaniel, and then go to you. What was that like, that revelation of that?
Yeah, we first met in 2020. It was the summer post-pandemic. I guess we were still in the middle of the pandemic. And I interviewed Christina as part of Boston Baroque's upcoming virtual season because all of the performances had been canceled. No one could go to a venue. And we had about an hour and a half together, and I do remember thinking, like, we connected, and it felt like there's something more here. There's some more layers to pull back. And I said to our mutual friend Jennifer, I said, it would be really interesting to explore a film that kind of centers around Christina. And we both just kind of put it up on a shelf and said, yeah, well, maybe. And then fast forward, Christina had an opportunity with Boston Baroque to travel to Europe to present some music in Prague in 2024. And in 2020, sorry, I'm jumping all over in the timeline, but in 2023, this kind of percolated up again, like it would be a missed opportunity not to document some of that. And so we dove right in, and we started with an interview in the fall of 2023. And this is sort of getting to your answer of where there was kind of there's something more happening here. That very first interview, really kind of big feelings and themes came up, memories surfacing from childhood, the challenge of juggling motherhood and being a parent, also being married and supporting someone who is also incredibly talented. Christina's husband, Halden, is a violinist for the Boston Symphony. And just all of the things that come to play in that is a lot. And so the one little follow-up after that is I had asked Christina at the end of that first interview, do you have any childhood photos, or is there anything I can kind of get a sense of what life was like for you growing up? And she sent me a photo of a box that her brother had sent to her, and inside the box, she said, would this be useful? And were maybe 30 or 40 8mm film reels and 4 slide carousels of 35mm photos.
Little treasure chest.
It was a treasure chest, and that was really kind of okay. Now, this isn't a short film. This is something much bigger that can be both personal and heartfelt, and really kind of be a portrait of a person.
And the films that you unearthed and you saw, they were of your dad, right? Who was also an artist. So
yes.
Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so that's one thing in the film that's difficult and complicated for me is that he was a brilliant visual artist, and but was also a very tortured man who was consumed by debilitating depression. So he was not always a part of our lives. You know, he sort of had his attic where he would go and withdraw, but he also produced this incredible art, and I feel that now I've worked through a lot with that, and he's since passed away, and I feel a connection also as an artist to him in a way that I didn't realize growing up. Like, I'm a classical violinist, he's an abstract painter. But I realized, you know, talking with Nathaniel too, how I create art, it was a real revelation for me one day to realize, oh, you know, I'm kind of an abstract artist. Even though I play music, someone's written the notes for me and all that. But my form of expression, I feel, it always feels abstract. And that's why, for instance, words are difficult for me, because I feel like it confines me in a way that everything feels bigger than the words. And so I thought, you know, actually I kind of play in colors too. I think a lot about colors. And
I was so struck by that when I saw it in the clip of the film and I wanted to ask you, when you realized that, going forward, what was the impact of that on your art and the way you felt about enlarging your voice through your art? Because that's a big revelation to realize that affinity between you and your father on that, but that you think you play in color.
Yeah. I think, I mean, it's difficult because when I've said that to only a handful of people, and a couple of people bring up, I always forget the name of it, but there's a...
Synesthesia, I think?
Yeah.
Maybe? Synesthesia? Where you
Is that what?
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
when
I
you say it in
don't
color,
have that, so that's not what it's about.
Right.
Just to clarify, it's more, again, it's like feelings of color. Like, I really like playing with color in tone. We talk about it all the time as classical musicians. Oh, let's do that, but with a different color. And we don't say, oh, let's play it in blue and let's play it in orange.
Right.
But there's just this palette of colors, and I think for me there was a time where I did start sort of thinking a little bit in color, and his paintings are all over our house. Like, so I practice in a room, I'm surrounded by his paintings, and I look at them and I think, oh, actually, yeah, I'm kind of going for that particular color. I don't want to define it necessarily, but it's helpful in terms of, it just feels like it opened up my understanding of myself too as an artist, because this abstract way of operating is not, a lot of people like things very clear. You know, they say, oh, do you want this quicker or faster or slower or louder or softer? And I have trouble defining some of the musical feelings and emotions and expression in those ways. And so it just helped me understand myself a little bit better.
And Nathaniel, that's the challenge, right? For you to bring that out in her, because that lives in her head. You're the filmmaker. You're supposed to make that accessible to us. So how do you do that?
Yeah, it's a wonderful challenge. I think some of it is there's a lot of interviews that that give us a chance to kind of create a bed of conversation, and you know it is a lot about dialogue, and I think there's moments of cinematically and cinematographically we're not going to match her level of playing, but we are really making an effort to visually tell a story that is as beautiful as everything that she plays. And I think there's an opportunity for us to take the viewer to places that were remarkable for us as a crew, but also just allow an almost abstract way, visually speaking, to put her in these locations. We go to Amsterdam with her to reconnect with an old teacher. We go to the Czech Republic, and we're playing in 18th century palaces and abandoned monasteries. And it's this visual opportunity, I think, is a way that we try and elevate her story. And then there's animation that will come into play that we're working through to tell some of these stories that are more difficult and more nuanced, and there really is nothing to show. You have to kind of meet her where her story is.
Yeah.
And Nathaniel, I think the clips that we saw, was was someone making a violin or something like that? Tell me about that. That was so fast. I was like, what is this guy doing? What's
That
going
was
on
beautiful.
here?
That was
tell us-
absolutely
Yeah,
beautiful.
tell us about that. And and then the scene we saw, did you go and play for him or on the violin? What was that about? Yeah.
He was making this bow, actually.
Oh,
it's
really?
that
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
So in the film, he was hoping to have it finished by then, but he didn't. So he was working then and in that scene with me to try and figure out what to do and how to make the right bow for me and what I needed. So he had brought a few samples and was trying to figure out what wood he should use to get the both nuances that I wanted with overtones and also like a soloistic bow that could cut through to the back of a hall. So, and I had a previous bow of his and I wanted to get a new bow. And so this whole project, like the Bach Chaconne, which is part of this partita, the second partita, it's the last movement in that partita, is played on, and it's the center of the film, and that is played on this bow that Pieter Afforti made for me. So.
And Christina, what was it like for you to be in a documentary, to be filmed for probably many hours and many days and many weeks and months, right? What was that like for you?
Yeah, honestly, it was very difficult in many ways. I'm not someone who likes cameras in any way. Anyone who knows me knows I hate them, including my husband or my family. I don't like when people try and take my picture. I don't like videos. And I don't like being the center of attention in those ways. And speaking is also difficult for me. So I was suddenly put in this situation where I had to do a lot of that and face some of those discomforts, I guess. But it also brought so much joy into my life and these opportunities, firstly, to meet Nathaniel and gain a great friend, and also the whole crew, actually. There are five guys, and I felt like I acquired 5 brothers. Like we've all felt very close and like family, and it felt a little bit for me like coming home to some of the joy that I had growing up. And also just the opportunity to reflect on my life and to think through some of my experiences and what shaped me as a person and as an artist, and to share that and talk about it, and even publicly. It's been a great gift.
So Nathaniel, was it hard to convince Christina to be on film all that time?
She has never been a huge fan of the interview process, especially. But she is articulate, and I think she's been a wonderful collaborator, and this project really has become.
While
more
you're
of a
answering,
duet.
James, Christina,
Yeah.
we're going to have you go over to get ready to favor us with the second selection. And we also want to remind people about the concert on June 17th at GBH's Fraser Performance Center. You can buy tickets on the GBH website. But James, while she's setting up, go ahead.
So how did you convince her to be on film all that time and make her comfortable?
I think a lot of it is just trying to build a rapport and be real and make sure that whoever we're working with feels at home and at peace and can be themselves. And
I think you did that. I think even from the clip I saw, it's glorious.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So we're now going to hear Bach's Zieg from Partita number 2. That is absolutely amazing.
The
Nathaniel,
depth,
thank you for this film.
Oh my goodness. We've been speaking with and listening to Grammy-nominated violinist Christina Day Martinson, as well as Peabody-winning filmmaker Nathaniel Hansen. Nathaniel's upcoming documentary about Christina is called A Second Movement. You can find information by going to asecondmovementfilm.com. And you can also come to GBH on June 17th. Christina will be performing in studio. And I think, Nathaniel, you'll probably be filming, right?
We will
Right.
be
It'll
behind the scenes filming. Yep.
As part of the documentary. And you can get tickets at gbh.org/events.